Welcome to your Wednesday edition of FreightWaves Now. Very exciting oil update from none other than John Kingston, our oil expert. But first off, let's talk to Nick Austin and see what's happening out there with all the crazy weather going on.
Welcome to FreightWaves Weather, your Wednesday Hump Day edition. I'm meteorologist Nick Austin here at FreightWaves, and we're talking about lots of snow for the high plains, out in the mountain west as well, and out west, a lot of rain and possible flash flooding, so just a lot of messy weather out there for drivers, and there will be some delays in freight movement out there for the next couple of days at least. So here's what to watch for the next couple of days through the rest of the week, especially for today, right up along the Montana and Canadian border across northern Montana, later today and tonight across parts of northern Minnesota over towards International Falls as well. We're looking for a lot of heavy snow, possibly up to a foot in some areas. The winds might be blowing a little hard here and there as well, but that's mostly for today and tonight for Montana, and then it'll spread later tonight and tomorrow into parts of Minnesota, into northern parts of Minnesota. Not Minneapolis, but areas north of Minneapolis in Minnesota. Now the big storm, the first real notable winter storm for the Mountain West, is happening right now, and it's going to last for a couple days. So this is about 36 to 48 hour event for a lot of parts of the Mountain West. Anywhere from Wyoming all the way down through Utah, western Colorado, and even all the way as far south as Flagstaff, Arizona. Some spots 1 to 2 feet of total snow. So over a 2-day period, not that bad. But at times the snowfall will be heavy. Some areas the winds will be blowing really hard, so they'll be blowing snow and a lot of reduced visibility for drivers out there. Not a great idea if you don't have to go through this region. I know it's a big region where there's going to be a lot of bad weather, but if you can avoid it, fine. Otherwise, you're just going to be running into a lot of delays, not just on the ground, but also at some airports and other assets across the region. There might be minor trouble here and there with some slowdowns in rail freight, as well as at the airports, including Denver and maybe Salt Lake City Airport. And there's also going to be flooding potential in the lower elevations and the lower slopes, especially across Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, Yuma, all the way into parts of Southern California, including San Diego. So I-10, I-8, I-17, some parts of I-40. There are going to be problems with potential flash flooding and possible roadblocks on those areas. Where the snow is going to hit in parts of Utah, there could be some trouble on sections of I-70 and I-15 as well, especially along and east of I-15 in Utah, right around this area here in southwestern Utah. So lots of snow, lots of rain, at least short-term delays for the rest of the week as far as freight movement. And the last thing we want to talk about is happening out in California. Yes, fire weather has come back. That means a lot of very, very low afternoon relative humidities, dry conditions, some minor drought conditions going on in northern California from parts of the San Francisco area to Sacramento and northward, and there's just a pretty high risk that there might be new wildfires that spark in this part of California, and that includes part of the I-5 corridor as well. So Pacific Gas and Electric has already issued some public safety power shutoffs, about 180,000 customers or so in Northern California without power right now, so that any live wires wouldn't, if they got blown down, wouldn't start new fires. So they're taking precautions there for at least today. Some of those might last into tomorrow, and that could affect some drivers heading through Northern California. That's a look at your weather for today. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel, check out all of our FreightWaves videos. Have a great day and be careful out there.
Welcome to FreightWaves Now. I'm John Kingston. We're here to talk about diesel prices, which if you are a trucker or the fuel manager of a trucking company, are acting in your favor right now. We're down about 10 cents, not at the pump, I will tell you that right now, but we were about 10 cents down on the price of diesel on the CME, the main commodity contract by which all diesel prices kind of start at that number. 10 cents down in about the last 3 weeks. And here's the thing, we're not really sure why. When you look at a lot of things in the diesel market, what's going on is that you've got very tight inventories. In fact, some numbers just came out today that show what are known as days of supply, or 27.2 days in the US. That means if you stop producing diesel and you just drew your inventories, you can take care of consumption for 27.2 days. That's the lowest in a year. And yet the price continues to fall. And what's notable is that it's not just that the price of oil overall is falling, the price of diesel is falling more rapidly rapidly than the price of crude. And I will tell you right now that this doesn't make a lot of sense. When you look at the tight inventories, when you look at the prospects that there were going to be some kick from IMO 2020, this was not the time of year in which you were supposed to see diesel being kind of like the runt of the litter of the oil complex. So you see a little bit about the drop the last few days. It is true that the wholesale price has certainly not caught up to the drop in the commodity price. And the retail price, the price that you're paying at the pump, that's down a little bit too, as you can see from our DTS.USA series and sonar, but it's certainly not down as much as the commodity price. But the fact that the commodity price is down 10 cents is obviously good news. Why is this happening? As I said, it's really difficult to understand. When you look at the fundamentals of the diesel market, they should be tighter. Inventories are tight, not just in the US, but inventories are tight in Europe as well, and yet the price of diesel keeps falling more than the price of Brent. We're down about $5 a barrel if you measure it, the difference in the price between Brent and CME ULSD. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been searching for an answer as to why that is. I've been looking at what other analysts have been writing. It's really difficult to come up with a reason. So we are still on the cusp of IMO 2020 season. That is, I'm still convinced, is going to put a squeeze on the diesel market. It may not happen tomorrow, but I think it's going to happen some other time. The fact of the matter remains that you're going to need to pull diesel out of the normal consumption uses and into the marine market to make IMO 2020 work. We're going to be following the price of diesel. It's also available in sonar. Thank you for watching.
Time for the Wednesday Carrier Update, sponsored by PowerFleet. My name is Kyle Cunningham. Thanks so much for joining me yet again today. The good news continues. The outbound tender volume index for the entirety of the USA continues to run up. So you can see here from basically the 17th of November to where we're at today, climbing towards that 10,000 mark. So this orange line, yet again, that's last year's volume levels. You can see a big surge up last year. We're following the same trajectory this year. Yet again, 10,000. That's the point we want to cross past that, indicating that the holiday push is coming along. Let's look at outbound tender rejects for the entirety of the USA. All of the markets above 10%. So these are the big ones you want to focus on if you have capacity inside of these markets. Those are going to be your most valuable markets today. Bismarck, North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, South Dakota as well. No surprise there, but Little Rock, Arkansas, and Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Iowa, out west, Pendleton, Oregon. So take a look if you're inside of sonar and understand that the higher the outbound rejections, the more valuable your assets are. So let's take a look at a few markets around the country and see what's happening. Denver, Colorado, inbound volume way higher than outbound. So you can see here that there is competition still in the market, but capacity crunching down, outbound rejections climbing up. Let's take a look at some rates in regards to specific lanes. So out of that outbound tender reject, you can see here Denver to Flagstaff, 8.81 on the rejections. In terms of rates, $2.03 a mile from Denver to Flagstaff. So if you run that lane, be sure to take note of that. If you're inside of sonar, be sure to take note of all of the lanes over 250 miles. You're now going to have insights into the actual lane pricing, which is really exciting. In Colorado continuing, we can see here inbound volume way higher in Grand Junction versus outbound, but yet again a capacity crunch in the entire state. Outbound rejects in Grand Junction at 8.05%. Let's look and see where the rejections are in terms of lanes. Grand Junction down to Southern California, Ontario, and LA around 6.2%. In terms of a rate on that one, $1.72 a mile to head down to Southern California. So thanks so much for watching again today, and be sure to watch again tomorrow. Take care.
Donny Gilbert here, looking at national outbound tender volumes. We're going to look at some tender rejection rates for dry vans and dive into a single market. I brought here today our chart looking at national outbound tender volumes. We expect these volumes to be a little bit higher, but somewhere around about the 5th of November, they actually drop down below the levels of 2018. But today here we're looking at 98.76. We've seen a trend that volumes are actually picking up, and this is what we should see here being the week before Thanksgiving. So hopefully here the latter part of this week, moving on over to the beginning of next week, we should see volumes picking up as we get closer to the Thanksgiving holiday. And of course, over the Thanksgiving holidays, you will have a lot of drivers that take that time off, so you'll have a lot of capacity issues running from that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and over the weekend. Next, we're going to kind of look at our dry van outbound tender rejection rates. Now, they've been fairly low over the past 4 or 5 months, and we've seen it pick up here now in the last 3 or 4 days up to 5.25%. So this is showing some volatility showing up in some markets here. This is a national average, so we actually have spots in these markets that are getting a lot stronger, and of course, we have areas like the Northeast that are still showing a weak market when it comes to actual rates. Of course, our dry van tender rejection rates correlate very closely with what's going on in the spot market. So next, I want to kind of bring you the map that shows our dry van tender rejection rates to kind of show where a lot of these are picking up. Here in the Midwest, here we see a lot of these dark blues. These are markets that are getting strong and spot rates are increasing. Here, of course, across the Northeast, we still show a lot of markets that are fairly weak, and down in the Southeast. So here in Alabama, we have some markets that are growing. Mobile has picked up a little bit, and even some in the northern Florida markets have actually picked up. So when we're using this information, you really got to dive into these markets. You have to find these markets that are growing. They're not just going to jump out at you. So go and look at your market volatility maps and use your U.S. maps looking at both dry van and reefer tender rejection rates to see where these rates are picking up at. The market I want to dive in today is Des Moines. And the reason I chose Des Moines is we got trends moving up in our both tender rejection rates for dry van and reefers. We've had market volumes pick up in Des Moines. They're 17% higher than last year. And here our dry van tender rejection rates have picked up over 15%, and our reefer tender rejection rates have picked up over 30%. So here, as we approach the holidays, we're seeing both volumes pick up and an upward movement in both dry van and tender rejection rates, which lets us know the spot market rates are picking up in Des Moines.
Well, thanks so much for watching today. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and follow us on all our social media channels, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, and we will see you again tomorrow.